Today, we're going to be diving deep into Notion and we're going to crush your productivity workflow. Now, we're wanting this as complete productivity porn where we're setting up databases and views and everything to your heart's content. But just remember, for all you do with tinkering with Notion, it does not mean that you're progressing your project. So do take this with what it is. It's a bit of fun, but hopefully out of it, you'll get to create something that can unblock some of that pain point when it comes to managing your projects. So what are we going to cover? We're going to cover setting up projects and tasks. We're going to link tasks into projects, and we're going to do these in what I like to call a system database, where it's a global database, where it means we can then start thinking of different domains of where we work. So for example, we'll be creating 3 workflows. We'll create a business workflow. We'll create for my case, I'm building an app, Flowtelic. I'm going to create a workflow for that, and my content creation workflow for YouTube. And we'll sort of visualize how you can create those projects. So that is what I call a multi-domain context. You might be studying, you might be working, you might have personal stuff going on. That's where you would use that. And the important thing is we're going to create this system database where we then can create like project templates. But more importantly, when we start putting tasks in, we can create a focus page. Every day, we'll get a focus of things that are recurring that we need to be working on, and then things from our projects that we can bring in that we just want to focus today. So I'm a believer in actually planning to do less means you do more, because you don't start procrastinating, thinking, oh, I'll never get through all my tasks, therefore I won't really put the energy into any one task. So we'll be thinking of that. And then finally, we'll look at OKRs, objectives and key results. There's a reason why you're doing these projects. What is that thing you are striving for? And how will you know that you've measured that thing? And that's where KPIs come in, so key performance indicators. And we'll weave that in so you get a view as not only the progress of your projects, but whether they're actually working. Okay, so let's dive in. So to start with, we'll think about the 3 domains that I want to create on my productivity workflow. So I will have my business domain. I will have my Flowtelic domain. And Flowtelic is a note-taking app that I'm building. And I will have I'll call this my content creation domain, because it's not just YouTube. I'm writing a book as well, so I might want to put a project in for that. This is a software project, this is a content project, and this is all the stuff that goes behind the scenes to run a business. Now, because it's Notion, we can make things look a little bit nice. So what do we got here? Business, we'll put a nice little briefcase for business. And then for Flowtelic, this is a note-taking app. So I would put a pencil, nice little pencil there. And then content creation, this is maybe I'm writing a book or something. So let's put something like that. Okay, so these are my 3 domains of which I want to start creating projects and managing my tasks. Now, how do I approach this? I want to have my databases shared across everything so that I can manage the templates just once, and I can manage the roll-up views of how things are going in a general sense. So, for example, if I'm looking at just the tasks I need to focus on today, it's going to come from all my projects across all my domains. So let's create a system folder, and I'm going to give this an icon of a cog. This means I can have things that are shared in here, but I generally wouldn't want to be working out of this folder. All my views should come from here. Now within here, I want to create 2 pages, and these pages will contain a database each. So the first one, let's create an empty page here, and I call this projects. So let's turn this into page. No, I will just create a page. So create a page, projects. Okay, and then I'm going to put a table in here. This will be my master projects table. So I'm going to create a new database, and it's called projects. And then I'm just going to rename this to full projects. So when we think of projects, what goes in a project? So we want to give it a name, and that's great. We might want to have some tags if we want to get a feel for the kinds of projects we're working. Maybe it's a content project or a YouTube video or something along those lines. But then projects generally have some level of status, so we'll put a status in there. So I know whether I'm currently working on it, whether it's something I'm just thinking of in the future. And we'll leave it at that for the moment. So you can add to this as you see fit when you get a feel for the kinds of things you want to track in a project. Now we'll create another page. So create a page, and this is going to contain our tasks. This is where all the things that we're going to do on a day-to-day will go into this database. Okay, so we have our tasks, and then we'll call it, there'll be a table, create a new database. So, and then I'm just going to rename this to all tasks. What would generally go into a task? Well, I probably wouldn't have tags, so I'm going to delete that property. But I do want a status, what it is I'm working on, what status is it? And then I probably want to think about when I'm going to do it. So I love the concept of a due date. I discovered it from August Bradley in his Life Operating System Notion videos. And the reason I like this is because you can then say when something's going to happen. So it's almost like scheduling it in rather than having due dates where what's the deadline of this thing. So we'll add a date. And if you're working with a team with Notion, due dates kind of signals when something's happened, not when you have to wait and hope it happens by. So here's the date. We'll call this due date. Due date. And that is a date property. Now there's one other thing I want to add in here. I want to add a relation to my projects. I'm sort of saying that tasks generally belong to a project. So I will link that relation to my projects in system. And just looking at the properties here, I'm going to say that one task generally only belongs to one project at a maximum. It is possible to create tasks that have no projects. That's fine. So if you just want to quickly remember to do something, you can add a task in that doesn't have a project. But it wouldn't have more than one project. And the option here, show on projects, I'm just going to enable that. And the reason I do that is because then we can start later on, do some roll up so I can see on my project card how many tasks I have completed and how many I haven't completed. But we'll come to that later. So let's add that relation. Okay, now we have our task database. So let's think of content creation. I'm going to start with this one because it feels more fun. So let's create what I want here. I'm going to create an empty page, and I will probably create a couple of sort of entry point views, which would be sub pages. So I'm going to create a page. And this page will be called projects. Now that I have a projects page within my content creation section, what do I want to put on it? I want to showcase a gallery of all my projects. So in here, I'm just going to create a gallery view. And I'm going to link it to my projects database. So my system projects, add that here. I can, didn't need to click into it. That has actually jumped me into the system. Unfortunately, one of the annoying things about Notion is that while I don't want to work in my system, I do end up sometimes finding myself in there as I click through. So here are all my projects. So let's first filter this project by some level of context. Okay. So what we haven't got in the project is knowing that it's a content creation project or anything else. That's easy to fix. So we go into our system projects database. We'll just add a column and we'll do a select here and we'll say context. And I like to use a context. Which context is this project belonging to? We'll add some options. So to speak, content creation. We've got flow tech and we have business. Okay, now when I go and create this view here, I can filter all the projects where the context is content creation because that's the folder that I'm essentially working in. So now this will only show my content creation projects. I also want to change it from a table to a gallery. So now when I go and create a project, it will be a content creation project. So up here, I could create a template for my content creation projects. So what goes into a content creation project? First of all, it's a content creation context. That way it will automatically filter into the right page. I will have a status not started by default. And at the moment, there are no tasks. I can hide that view from here because that's actually sort of an internal reference that we'll be using later for any rollups. So we'll just hide that property. Now, let's go and create a tasks table in this project page. So we'll create a database inline. I didn't need to actually create the database, but if I create a view, let's delete this. Okay, let's create a database view, so table view. This will link to our tasks. And now we want to filter by project. And because this is a template, it uses the name content creation. And what that will do is it will replace it with any projects that we create, so that only filters for the projects that we're currently creating the template for. So we're editing this template. Let's go back now. So now what happens when I'm going new content creation. So this is a new project. That's a content creation project. I can go give it a name. And I'm writing a book at the moment called Atomic Note Taking. That's the name of the book. And now I have some tasks I can relate to that. I'm just going to hide this. I should go back and edit the template with this. Unfortunately, with Notion, if you go and edit the template, but you've created loads of projects, there's no way for it realistically to update the contents of all those projects with that new structure. That is, I believe, some kind of limitation of Notion, because once I create something, I can edit the structure of it. Those things that do get shared are the properties up here, but the contents aren't rigid in that sense. Okay, so now I have my project here, and if I go and create a new task, this could be, for example, create the project outline. And then it might be, so if I'm writing a book, write the first chapter, and it might be design the book cover. Right, so I might have some tasks related to this ebook, and then I might want to tag this as an ebook project, for example. Okay, so what we have here is a view, which now gives us some tasks, and it links to this project. I can just hide that property there. That's not very relevant there. So now when I look at my system database and I look in tasks, I can see these ones I've just created. These are the default ones that Notion creates. I'm just going to clear those out. So here's a project for Atomic Note Taking. Let's say I create a new project now of content creation type. But this time it's going to be a YouTube video, and it's going to be Notion productivity work. So give that a, and I might have some different tasks here. It might be something like outline the video, record the video, thumbnail designs, and so on and so forth. Okay, because I haven't edited the template, I've had to change the same properties there. That's easy to fix. If I want, for all new projects, I can go and edit this. And what did I do? I hid that, and I hid that. Okay, so now I have two projects in my content creation, and I've got some tasks in there. And if we just check what's going on in the tasks, you'll see that the projects are different for each of those, which is amazing. Now, this doesn't look very pretty. So now I can go and create a cover. If I have any artwork for that project, so if I was working on a video and I want to upload the thumbnail design, that would be amazing. For simplicity, I'm just going to use Unsplash Note see if there's anything of the note-taking. Note-taking book. So let's say I'm writing a book, so yeah, we'll leave it at that. And then for the Notion video, let's say I change the cover to be something Notion related. Let's pick that, for example. And there we go. That's the Notion homepage. Now, it doesn't look very nice because I need to go into the settings here. I need to go under Layout Gallery. Rather than previewing the page content, I want to preview the cover. So now I have a nice view of the projects for my content creation workflow. But what I might want to do here now is group them by their status so that things I've got on the backlog get pushed down, things I'm currently working on get pushed to the top. The way to do that is go to group by status, and then I can change the sort to manual and say I want my in progress things first, my done things at the end, and anything not started. So now when I want to start working on a project, I could say, well, I'm working on this one. So I'll just pull that. So I can look at the projects I'm currently focusing on and prioritize kind of where I want to put my efforts. So what we can do then is replicate this for the business and for the Flowtelic, so that you have those contexts very quickly. What would that look like? If I copy and duplicate this, let's see if this works. Move that to Flowtelic. I have projects view here. I delete that, so it's just not the duplicate. Now, the difference here is that I'm not looking at content creation. I'm looking at Flowtelic. So now when I create things here, but I can only create content creation projects. If I do that now, it'll actually put the context in the wrong place. So actually, let's try that. So the context is still a content creation context. And I don't think Notion's smart enough to know that it came from something filtered by a different context. So let's just delete that. I don't want that. So what I have to do is I have to go and create a new template. Now, word of warning, I did try and sort of duplicate this. We'll try it now, but it did cause a few problems. But we'll try that. So content creation one, we'll call this a Flowtelic project. And then when we go filter, I think it's worked this time. It's pulled in this. What I wouldn't recommend is trying to duplicate from this menu. Do it from the templates menu, because it went completely wrong and I had to restart everything because some things just fundamentally inside Notion just broke, which was very unfortunate. So we have now a Flowtelic project. So if I go create a new one here, and this might be to create the desktop app version. So this would be a big project. Let's say I'm working on that. The type of project is app, and I can then select Flowtelic as the project type then. Once that loads in, it will create the tasks. So let's try this. So bundle the app with Electron. This is a technical thing that's to do with software development. So let's say I've got a task there. I can now see that on there. And again, just check what's going on because it's a new setup. I've got that task linked to this project, which is to create the desktop version of the app, bundle it with Electron. So now that has wired in correctly. So I can see the difference here. Now, what I haven't done is I need to add a cover image just so it looks quite nice. Let's create something like that. Not a very good image. I wanted a desktop because that relates to that. So there we go. That's now where I've got my Flowtelic projects, my content creation projects. And again, I could do the same with business. So what I would do here, duplicate that, bring it into business. I just rename that to generically projects. Now, this filter needs to be changed from context from that to be the business filter. So it only shows the business projects. And then I can create a template for my business project. Change the context to business. Interestingly, what's just happened there, it didn't keep my tasks. Oh, there we go. It's taking its time to load. Filter that by business. That's fine. So that would be a business project. So if I go create a new business project, sets it up there. What would be a good business project? Maybe it's to incorporate the Flowtelic company, for example. That could be a project where I need to do certain things, like open the company with companies. I can't spell, obviously. Company's house in the UK is where you register companies. So that could be a project for there. Change the color, something business related. They don't look very business related at all. I don't know. We'll pick a random one. Obviously, with your own projects, you can spend a bit more time kind of finessing some of those details. But obviously, remember, don't get stuck in the productivity porn of things where you, rather than actually doing the tasks, you spend time changing colors and things like that. And for some reason, it did load. Okay, right, just takes a while. So here we have projects for my different groups, and within each one of those, I can manage those tasks. Right, so we'll end this video here, because in the next part, what we're going to do is we're going to take those projects. We've done the multi-domain setup. We've created the templates. Next, we'll then create some recurring tasks and our daily focus, and then sort of a global task view, so we get a view across all our projects, what we can do.